And then when I was 9 years old, I broke my leg. I was in a four-wheeler accident and I broke my leg. I had to go to the Hôpital Saint-Justin in Montreal. I was there for 2 months. Dominic would know where that is. And dang, did the four-wheeler roll over when you were riding it? Is that? No, I wasn't riding it. No, I wasn't driving. I went to the post office that day to get the mail. And instead of walking back from the post office, I asked my cousin if I could hitch a ride with her on her four-wheeler. And she went down to the wharf to see her husband that was lobster fishing at the time. And when she left, to get back to where I lived, you had to come up over a hill and go around a 90-degree turn. And when we were just coming up the straight part, before you got to the 90-degree turn, one of our other cousins showed up on her four-wheeler, and they decided to see who could go the fastest to get there. Well, going around the corner, it went like this, the four-wheeler, and I went flying off and hit the fence. When I hit the ground, woke up a few minutes later after losing consciousness. I had a broken leg. I still remember waking up and laying there and looking at the fence and thinking, oh my God. And then I looked down at my leg and the bone was like this. It didn't come out of the skin, but my femur bone was like that under my skin. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to take a while to fix. That's what I remember thinking, laying there on the ground. This is going to take a while to fix. And my cousin broke her wrist to turn the four-wheeler so fast so that it wouldn't fall on my leg to crush it. So yeah, that happened in 1984. We had just moved to the Magdalene Islands. We moved there in May 6th or something like that. And it happened on like June 18th. Did they call an ambulance or did they carry you to the hospital? Well, first of all, this was on Entry Island, which is not part of the mainland. The only thing on this little island is one grocery store, one restaurant, and a bunch of houses. So they called the nurse to come down. And then my uncle took me on his fishing boat and took me to the other side over to the mainland. And then an ambulance picked me up on the wharf. They took me to the hospital. They reset my leg without putting me asleep. It was the worst thing I have ever been through. Then they flew me to Montreal. I was so high on morphine that on the plane, I told somebody to go tell the pilot to speed up because we weren't apparently going fast enough. Good Lord. And then I was laying on my back in a Montreal hospital with my leg at 90 degrees with a steel pin through my knee and weights on my ankle to keep it balanced so it couldn't fall because it had to heal my femur. I broke my femur on my right leg. And when it was time for them, when it was time for them to take my leg out of the traction and everything, and they unscrewed the bolt from my knee, they didn't put me asleep. They didn't freeze it or nothing. The nurse got me to hold her hand. I held her hand like this. She said, if it hurts, squeeze. I broke her 3 fingers. That's how much it hurt. And apparently they could hear me in the other ward when I screamed. I was in the west ward and they heard me in the east ward. That's how loud I screamed. After they took me out of traction, they kept me for an extra few weeks to do physical therapy. When I was doing physical therapy, they had me using crutches and they had me going up 3 steps and then walking on a platform and then coming down 3 steps on the other side. Well, going up the steps with the crutches was fine. Walking on the flat platform was fine. Coming down the 3 steps, not so much. I went like this. Curse black, face first on the mat. Good job they were soft mats is all I can say. When I went back to high school after I broke my leg, like 6 months later, all my muscles weren't fully like regrown and re-strengthened. They were regrown. They didn't break, but they weren't re-strengthened as hard as they could be because it takes time for your muscles to regain strength. And I was in physical science class and it came over the speaker that I was wanted on the phone in the office. My mother called me that day and I thought it was something really serious. So I ran from the classroom down to the office to get the phone and I fell halfway there because the muscles in my leg weren't strengthened yet. So my leg just gave out and I fell in the middle of the hallway. And there was this guy coming in. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. This happens more than you know.